My name's Neil Pettinger, and I'm a freelance data anthropologist. I'm based in Edinburgh, and I specialise in looking at data to do with healthcare, and in particular patient flow in healthcare systems. For many years I used to work in the NHS as an information manager. I did that for about 20 odd years before I became freelance. And now what I do is I concentrate mainly on doing training courses, training workshops for NHS staff, and I combine that with also analysis consultancy work as well. Clinicians and managers in the health service tend to view data as being something that is too abstract. It's full of averages and percentages and counts and totals which don't relate to the real world that they inhabit, which has got individual patients with individual names, with individual diseases and conditions. So what we've tried to do with this simulation, which we call Flowopoly, for want of a better word, is we've turned patients into data, if you see what I mean. So each individual card on here represents a patient. The boards represent wards and departments. So that a clinician looking at this simulation, if you like, or this replay of reality, can see a whole load of patients where they belong in the A&E department or in the assessment unit or in the different wards. But a data analyst like me will look at the same table and rather than see patients, we'll see data, so that what we can do is try and bring those two worlds, the world of the patient-centred world that the clinician sees and the data-centred world that the data analyst sees, and bring them together so that we're all looking at the same thing in the same way. My agenda is that because so many problems to do with patient flow are to do with delays, patients moving from the A&E department into assessment and having to wait too long because they're waiting for a bed, patients moving from the assessment ward to a downstream ward and having to wait too long because they're into bed, and so on. And all of these delays are some massive headaches for health service managers. Is that if I can make these delays visible to people, so that people can start looking at a replay and thinking, I wonder what it was that caused that particular patient to be delayed from getting from there to there because there seemed to be a bed, and so on. It gets them to start thinking about whether there is a data answer to that question. So part of me is trying to use these replays to try and get people to look at data like this, for example, which ordinarily they wouldn't give the time of day to because it's full of averages and abstractions. So it's a way of bridging this gap between, if you like, the clinician's view of the world and the data analyst view of the world. The way that we currently deliver this is that we do it for a particular healthcare system. It will commission me to do one of these exercises for a particular system. So we might do it for the 3 hospitals in NHS Lothian, we might do it for the Western General, the Royal Infirmary, St John's Hospital. 2 ways in which I want to develop it. One is turning Flowopoly into more of an event, almost like a staged happening. And we experimented with this just at the end of last year in December. Interestingly inspired by attending a Creative Edinburgh event. I went to an event in White Space in the October and liked the space so much and thought it would be great for an event like this that we hired that same space for an event 2 months later. Collaborated with a photographer that I'd met at a Creative Edinburgh event as well, who also took the photographs, and also someone else that I'd met at the Creative Edinburgh event who helped me with the organisation, front of house and general emceeing of the event as well. So from that point of view, Creative Edinburgh was interesting because it helped focus my mind on one way of developing this particular product. But there's another way in which I want to develop it as well, which is something I've become aware of just attending NHS meetings, which is that you can use this gimmick, if you like, because to a lot of data analysts this does appear as being a slightly gimmicky way of presenting data. You can use this in much smaller and much more informal settings within the NHS, where you can commandeer a meeting and just show people on a tabletop in the course of a meeting how patient flow actually works in their department. And that I've seen eyes being opened and pennies being dropped just because this particular way of presenting data has so much more resonance than conventional tables and graphs.